All of your businesses involve a lot of components, a lot of parts. Do the tariffs and the trade...
Great interview. Yeah. So Elon's in a rough spot right now politically, right? Well, he's in a rough spot in a lot of ways. For one, and this is like a corroborated point, his drug use is worsening considerably. I think there's evidence to that point, not only in that spot at the Oval Office from 2 days ago, but also in his behavior in this interview. Additionally, he's not held in high favor by anyone. Democrats despise him across the board, of course. And Republicans are kind of leaning negatively against him. They have been for a while, but even more so now that he's kind of like very publicly denouncing the big, beautiful bill. So his company's not doing well. Politically, he doesn't really have an in-group.
Trade wars affect any of this?
Tariffs always affect things a little bit.
Wondering what your thought is on the ban on foreign students, the proposal. I mean, you were one of those kids, right?
Yeah, I think we want to stick to, the subject of the day, which is like spaceships, as opposed to, presidential policy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was told anything's good, but...
No.
But Musk was willing to talk about the Doge firestorm.
You've spoken about how much of a grind and a stress it was on you. And, Tesla's reputation took a hit. Your reputation took a hit. People are very upset about Social Security and national parks and air traffic and food safety and cancer research, Alzheimer's research. Now that you've had a chance to look at it,
yeah,
might there have been a different approach?
I think what was starting to happen was that, it's a bit unfair because, Doge became the whooping boy for everything.
It's really wild how, even though he was given the go-ahead to talk about anything, Elon very obviously said, let's not talk about presidential policy, because he personally doesn't want to go into it. Not because he's trying to avoid the topic altogether, because he immediately jumps on the opportunity to defend Doge. It's not some kind of broader effort to stay apolitical in this interview and refocus on the company. It's just he's personally upset. It's crazy how undisciplined he is.
So if there was some cut, real or imagined, everyone would blame Doge. I've had people think that somehow Doge is going to stop them from getting their Social Security check, which is completely untrue.
Well, I guess I was just thinking about the,
That's not untrue at all. Remember how they started, remember how they made it so boomers could no longer call in to Social Security to amend problems with their check? And then there were people saying if any old people start complaining that they haven't gotten their Social Security check, that means they were fakers. They were fraudsters who were stealing the check. Any good recipient of Social Security would simply wait for their next life-saving payment to come through without making any noise. Remember that?
Move fast and break things, before you really understand what the agency does.
Yeah, I guess part of it is depends on where you're coming from. So, I'm like a proponent of smaller government, not bigger government.
Uh-huh.
So now if somebody's
scraped all of our data, gave it to Palantir, by the way.
Proponent of, more government programs and bigger government, and they see, hey, Doge is cutting all these government programs.
Oh no, he's absolutely high
then they'll
here.
be fundamentally opposed to that because they just think the government should do more things. That's just a fundamental, I guess, ideological opinion.
He also has a remarkable body. When you see how he's standing, he's got his posture on, so that's good, I guess. He does have the Robotnik body a little bit. That's not really his fault, I guess, but it is still funny.
But my frank opinion of the government is that the government is just like the DMV that got big. Okay, so when you say let's have
wow. That's crazy. The government is like the DMV that got big. Me, man. I can't. Jesus Christ.
The government do something, you should think, do you want the DMV to do it?
And then...
By the way, every experience I have ever had with the DMV, or the DOL, as it's called over here in Washington, has been extremely fine. You make an appointment beforehand and then you go in. I assume because of budget cuts, there's one DOL office for or there's 2 for like all of Seattle or whatever. Maybe there's more. There's in the like main area of Seattle. And in spite of them serving the needs of like a multi-million person metropolitan area, you can still pretty reliably like get a same day appointment or at least next day appointment. Go in, you're in there, kablamo, you're done. I don't know. I feel like the bad reputation that the DMV has more to do with car people being Hitlerites than anything else. Like you live in a society where you have like no respect at all for what like the societal infrastructure that goes into allowing you to drive a car, so that 1 hour out of 1 day once per year that you have to interact with some kind of government institution that fulfills like basic vital necessary functions for this whole thing to keep up, everyone like freaks the fuck out and panics about it. And yeah, they do underfund the shit out of the DMV. I mean, dude, do you think the DMV would run better if it had its same funding but was privately run? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I bet. Oh, I would love that. Yeah. Oh, if only the DMV could run as smoothly and cheaply as our medical system. Your appointment will be in 4 months. It'll cost $2,000. And also, somehow, despite that, the doctors will be overworked and overbooked. Overbooked.
Musk started talking about the Trump administration. I hadn't even asked him about Trump.
And
he is high.
You know, it's not like I agree with everything the administration does. So it's like I agree with much of what the administration does, but we have differences of opinion. You know, there's things that I don't entirely agree with. But it's difficult for me to bring that up in an interview because then it creates a bone of contention. So then I'm a little stuck in a bind.
You brought it up, sir. Dude, Elon must be the easiest interview subject in the world. You really have to do no work with this guy. Where
I'm like, well, I don't want to, speak out against the administration, but I don't want to. I also don't want to take responsibility for everything the administration is doing.
Elon, you're not supposed to say this out loud. You're not supposed to say, I feel uncomfortable speaking my mind against the presidential administration. Remember, we're supposed to be pretending we live in a democracy where actually speaking your mind against power is not only possible, but like normalized and accepted. You're kind of giving the game away a little bit here, where it's all a big cult and there are huge consequences. Dude, nobody talks this way about Democrats, I can tell you this much. Well, they do, but quietly, and it's all like you don't want to upset Hillary Clinton or whatever, or Pelosi.
In Washington, federal workers say that DOGE has left the government's operations in disarray. And worst of all, it might have all been for nothing.
No. They cut USAID, so lots of people will die from that, have died from that, and gave data to Palantir. Yeah, I've heard that estimate of 300,000 people having died from Musk's cuts. I haven't looked into that, but it's not like impossible.
Musk claims to have saved the government $175 billion so far, nowhere close to his original target.
Also not
true. Or even his revised target. And that was before the president's new spending bill passed the House. According to the Congressional Budget Office, it will add $3.8 trillion to our debt over the next 10 years. It's now being...
Also, he hasn't cut $175 billion. I think the estimate I've heard is around 40. Around 40 billion is what he cut. And the cuts are going to end up costing the government more because of all the damage and inefficiencies in the way he conducted those cuts, the people who had to be rehired, the people who were put on like paid leave or whatever, whatever was cut, like we will lose far more than that, like over 100 billion, just mopping up the damages.
Debated in the Senate.
So, I was like disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, doesn't decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, like, everything he's done on DOGE gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
Personally, I'm massively in favor of this because Elon does not direct Republicans the way that Trump does, but he does have a sizable following specific to him. So if he ends up wedging people against the Republicans and causes more infighting between like retard Silicon Tech like libertarian types and the more openly fascist, well, not that Elon's openly fascist, I guess the more like financially the more nominally fiscally irresponsible fascists, whatever, if there's a schism, there's a schism.
And here's where the story gets a little complicated. Right after our interview, CBS News posted a clip of it to promote this very report. It was that part where Musk criticizes Trump's spending bill.
Yep.
And his remarks became news. It went all the way up to the White House.
Yeah.
Mr. President, Elon Musk in a television interview criticized the one big, beautiful bill.
Within 24 hours, Musk announced that his time in the Trump administration was officially over. Out of